Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I'm back with my Roxy Journal of Stitchery piece, which also includes some fabrics down the bottom that are part of my Nanna's travelling rick-rack. So in previous episodes I showed how I created the background. I'll include a link to that. I showed how I arranged this bouquet of flowers, which I'm actually pretty happy with, and I don't think at this stage I'm going to stitch into them. How I created the vase, and then I added these flowers down the bottom, which are part of my Nanna's travelling rick-rack, part 1 collaboration, which I am super excited about. And so I'm planning to show today some stitching into these flowers and thread painting them. And then I thought we could have a ponder and do a little bit of kintsugi work on this vase. So kintsugi is a Japanese method of mending vases and other items that have become broken to make them even more beautiful through the process of mending, and they often use gold as a mending. And I've looked out, I've found this one in my stash. I don't know what brand it is, but I thought that could be lovely to couch down as my mending. So I thought we might start with that and then we'll move on to the thread painting. I'll bring you down closer to me so that you can see and I can see what you can see. And so yeah, let's start off and see how we go. So this is a really interesting gold thread. It almost sort of holds a bit of its shape, and it's not like a really thin one like I've got here, which is what I'm thinking to use to do the couching down of the thread. So what I'm thinking I'll do initially is bring it up through the fabric if I can, so that I'll put the end of it on the other side. I'll get a needle that has a decent sort of hole. I might even need a larger one. So let's just take that little endy bit off. We'll put that in my orts jar. Get enough of it. This to the side. I actually thought I'd lost that gold thread. I'd looked it out ages ago, and then my desk has had lots of packing of Nanna's travelling rick-rack envelopes. As I mentioned in my other video, I think I'm just about at capacity. So if you haven't sort of opted in for this round, there will be future rounds, which I will talk about in future videos. But I have, I've just added a few extra envelopes for a few long-term subscribers and supporters of the channel. I didn't want them to miss out. So if you are one of those and you haven't opted in for a package, yeah, I might still be able to squeeze 1 or 2 in. Just going to pop through. So now that I've got it through, I'm now just going to let it be couched down as we go along. So now I'm going to thread up. I'll put this other needle back in the pin cushion and I'll get myself a finer needle. In fact, I'm wondering, do I want even a really fine one? I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because this one, oh, and the other thing I wanted to say, I had a friend that used some steamer seam, but they didn't get the light steamer seam and it was near impossible for them to stitch through. So if you're planning to stitch through, make sure you get the light steamer seam too. So there's various variations. I've only ever used this one, and so yeah, and this is the one that the Collage quilter recommends. So light steamer seam 2 is the go. There we go. Sometimes it threads a-okay, which is good. I just love seeing everyone's different takes on the prompt. Been really loving what Sally from Dotty Bee has been doing with her orchids in a beautiful pot. And my friend Christy doing a great job. Sometimes there's a bit of sort of, you have to kind of revise your approach as you go. You audition different things, but it's all part of the journey, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to put stitches either side of the thread and that's going to couch it down, and I'm using the gold, which will hopefully blend in with the gold. And what I'm planning to do, I think, is to sort of follow up where these this sort of fragment of fabric is. So I'm thinking I'll come up here, around here, and then maybe sort of wend my way up like that. I think it'll be kind of nice on this side because this is the side where the light is shining down, so it would kind of make sense that the gold would be caught here. So we've done our first couching stitch. So really you just need enough couching stitches to hold the thread and have it sort of sitting at a nice curve. So I can always add more as I go. I can even sort of skip back a bit if I need to. But each stitch is basically just, and I've probably got two. Another thing with metallics is they do tend to get a fair bit of wear on them. I probably made this thread way too long, in fact, so I might even just shorten it down a little bit. Yeah, I think I will shorten it just because it's probably going to not do well if it's that long. So now I'll hop a bit further up. So I'm just following around where the edge of the fabric is. But yeah, if you haven't seen the making of the vase, I've got a video on that. I've got a video on the flowers. I've got a video on the background. So hopefully that allows you to either take an individual idea, or if you want to recreate something similar, hopefully that gives you what you need. So yeah, this is like a milliner's or beading needle. It's very fine. Now where I've got it, so I now want it to kind of bend up here, so I might actually put a stitch in right where the bend needs to start to kind of anchor it down there. But yeah, the steamer seam light, if you follow the instructions and iron it really with a steam iron once it's all sort of in place, that apparently helps to dissolve the temporary adhesive. And it's fine to stitch through. You also have to remember you've got multiple layers when you're working on a piece like this. I'm lucky that the orts underneath, they're not a particularly hard thing to stitch through unless the needle kind of catches on anything. Just going to keep working my way up. Oops. So I think this is our last week on this prompt, isn't it? On the prompt of the vase with flowers. Oops, I've just unthreaded my needle. So I thought I'd better get a wriggle on because I've been so busy, getting out all the Nanna's Ric Rac packages. Also getting things ready to take to my Fleur Woods retreat in what is now 2 weeks, really. Well, in 2 weeks minus a day, we'll be 2 days into the retreat by this time in 2 weeks' time, which I don't want to wish a moment away. I just know I had such a lovely time at the retreat last year, and also such a lovely time with Fleur in Melbourne later last year as well, which was just a 3-day workshop. I say just, but when you've done the 5 days, 3 days feels slightly too short. I think everything feels short with Fleur because you have such a lovely time, and amongst fellow creatives, it's just such a blessing. I am incredibly grateful. Incredibly grateful that I get this opportunity, and that I'm gifting myself this opportunity, because I think the first retreat I attended, I kind of ummed and ahed about it. Well, actually, no, the first time I wanted to attend a Fleur retreat, I ummed and ahed and it got fully booked out. And then I kind of pondered on it and thought, no, Christine, you can invest in your own enjoyment, in the creativity that you absolutely love, and it's fine to do that. So I think it was more just in my own head. No one was saying I couldn't do it. It was more just that I wasn't kind of giving myself permission to do that. Isn't it funny, the sort of the barriers that we put in our own way? think there's some parable, isn't there, about a bird in a cage, and the cage is actually open, but the bird stays within the cage. But then once you once you break out and once you taste the loveliness of a retreat, or taste the loveliness of doing something special for yourself. And I know not everyone has the means or the availability of retreats and other things, but even just doing something special that nurtures your creativity, even if it's just finding some special time that you can create, carving that out for yourself and saying, yep, that's okay. That's something I can do. And then it makes you a person that's more calm and relaxed and more at ease and more inspired and energised, which just has to be better for the world around you as well, hey? That's what I figure. So yeah, I think I like this effect. I wasn't sure if it was going to be to my liking, and I figured worst case I could always take it out, but I did say to you that I was going to do the kintsugi approach, so I did want to come back and show you. And you have seen a lot of thread painting from me, but I did want to also show you on these blooms, which many of you will be getting in little packages, little happy mails as part of Nanna's travelling rickrack, which I'm just so blown away by how lovely you have all been and how excited you are to take part in this collaboration, and just doing my little bit by sending you out some goodies. And I just can't wait to see what everyone creates with their little floral panels. For the ones going overseas, I had to be so careful to sort of trim the flowers down around them to make sure they fitted in the 50 gram limit for sending card only. And I've already had some arrive, actually. The ones in Australia and Victoria, they arrived within days, so that was exciting. But the ones to UK and US and Canada, they'll take a little bit longer. Oh no, was I going to, or will I come up that side? Yeah, no, I think I will come up there. I was thinking I'd actually come across here, but no, I think I'll bring it up the edge. Just want to get it though right on the very edge though. So just make sure, always wrapping the thread. So you're basically just putting a loop over the thread which holds it in place, which is called couching. And you can use it if you're wanting to make it more of a sort of a feature. You can use a contrasting thread and thicker thread obviously than this. In this case the couching's just holding the thicker thread down. And couching is particularly good for this sort of thing where you do have a thicker thread that you wouldn't want to be pulling in and out of your fabric. And in this case you want it just to be sort of sitting on the fabric. It's a perfect technique to do. So I hope you're having a good week. I had a super busy week last week, work-wise. Lots of in-office days, which are lovely, and one of them was like a off-site day with three of our branches. We have 6 branches in the division, so that was fabulous, and we've had so many new starters sort of since December. But it is exhausting peopling, as my team said. I think we're a bit similar. Like we're probably slightly more on the introvert side. You wouldn't think it that I'm an introvert, but I am. I definitely get my energy renewal from sort of alone time, creative time. So I enjoy the people side of it, but I definitely need to re-energise with calm, peaceful, stitchy time. But yeah, last week I was so exhausted after some of those days that I just didn't even make it into my craft room, or I went in and addressed a few envelopes, stamped them, took photos, and sent the little emails to the recipients of my Nanna's travelling rick-rack. But as I say, don't stress if you've missed out on, well, not missed out on, if you're not taking part in this round. There'll be future rounds with future treasures that I am sharing out. And I will be looking to make sure that it's people taking part that are sort of regular participants in this channel. I don't want to kind of just be attracting in people that are there just for the sake of it, rather than people that this is part of thanking people for their support and engagement, and it's about nurturing a community. That's what's behind it, and honouring my beautiful Nanna and Grandpa. So it's funny with this sort of thing, when you start out you're not sure, and as you get more and more of it laid down, it just sort of comes together sometimes. So where will I bring it? Will I bring it? Yeah, I think I'll bring it up and then over there, yes. Might need to take this gold thread with me to the fleur workshop as well. I know one of my commenters was joking that I'm going to need to borrow her trolley for the workshop, because I keep saying, oh, I'm going to take this, going to take that from my haul video, my last video. But it's nice to have sort of, supplies that you know. Because while fleur does bring a lot along to the workshop, sometimes you just have something extra that you want to add in. And yeah, I really do like how this gold thread is laying itself down. It's a beautiful sort of, does almost look like that sort of effect that kintsugi does, where it's almost melding the pieces together. I'm not exactly sure how whether it is a sort of a melted, whether they are using melted gold or something that's light gold. Certainly looks like gold. But no, I haven't watched any videos on people actually, doing the kintsugi technique. So I think I've got enough couching now, and I'm going to bring this bigger gold thread back to the back. So I'll just tie off my smaller gold thread, and you can see on the back how I've been doing those stitches all the way along. There we go. I'll just put another stitch in, because sometimes these metallics do try and sort of unwind themselves slightly. So I need my bigger needle again. And in fact, I don't need this much of this gold thread. I just need enough to take through to the back, so I'll save that other bit of it. And then we'll just pop through to the back here. There we go. Again, I'll just, because it is a thicker thread, it's a little bit harder to get through, and you can see why you wouldn't want to be pulling it in and out of the fabric. It would absolutely degrade, so this is definitely one that's better for catching down. So there we go. So I'll just catch this one. They also tend to want to unravel a bit. I'll just pop that over there. So there's how my kintsugi vase looks. I think that's lovely. I think it has added to it. I was worried that it might detract from it, but no, I think that really helps it. Just gives it an extra lovely dimension. Okay, so let's get on to some thread painting, and so I thought we might start with these ones down here. And so first thing is to work out what you're going to use. I'm going to use wools and Appleton wools. These are vintage Appleton wools. I've never bought an Appleton wool new, in fact, so these would have been from like Purveyor of Reclaimed Textiles or something. Oops, and I've got where I had actually started doing some playing around with some different thread colours, sorry, and I had realised I haven't actually pulled them out properly from the piece. They're still sitting slightly in the piece. There we go. And I've got some of this, I got a whole big hank of this wool, which I've just sort of, cut into reasonable lengths. So I thought this could be good for the darker colour. And basically, if you're looking to thread paint and wanting to sort of follow the coloration that's in a pattern like this one, you need to have a look at how many different colours there are. So there's this darker browny colour, which I'll make this sort of more burgundy. Then there's another next darker colour, which I could use this one for. And then there's another pinky colour. And then there's a lighty pinky colour, which I could use. Actually, I've got this one up here too. So I've got one hanging on my light. Maybe I'll use this one for the lighter one. And in fact, I'm thinking I can use actually this off-white one for the centres as well. So they're the ones I think I'm going to use for here. So let's start and do one. We can probably, actually no, we'll do this one down here, not the one that I've already had a little play with. So again, we need a decently ended needle. Actually, we'll do this one down here because that's kind of makes logical place to start. So we can start off with and it doesn't matter what order you do it. And again, you can kind of tweak it as you go. If you want to change up the colours, you can absolutely change when you're doing thread painting. You can change the colours of your piece as well. And so chenille needles are often good if you're working with wools, but you could be using embroidery floss as well. It doesn't have to be wool, but because this is in the foreground, I kind of want to play into the giving it a bit of dimension, I guess. And so I'm just doing what they call sort of long and short stitches, and particularly stitching over the edges, even though these are all stuck down with the steamer seam. I just want to make sure the edges are nicely anchored down. And with thread painting, you don't have to cover the entire thing. Like for some of, probably for the flower at the back, I won't. I'll probably just do maybe some of the petals in the foreground, possibly. So you can pick out what you cover as well. And as you can see here, I'm kind of substituting this burgundy in for the brown. So you absolutely don't have to stick to the colours that are on your initial piece. And sometimes when I thread paint, I totally change the colour of the flower. See, I've still got a piece of my thread from earlier. I had a sort of a bobbly, much more raspberry coloured thread, but it was actually really hard to stitch with because it has little textured bobbles. So I decided against that and it was also probably a bit bright for the piece too. So sometimes you've got to experiment and see. So I'll pop over to, in fact there's still a few stitches left in. Hang on, let me just get these ones out because they don't belong in here. Let's just pull them out from the back. And you know you're doing a good job with thread painting when your stitches almost kind of disappear into the design. I think the fabric's just slightly flicking up at the edge, so I'll just cover that with stitches. You can add as many stitches as you want. And if you really want to conserve yarn, you can pop up close to where you've popped down, so you don't have as much yarn on the back. You're conserving your yarn for the front. So for example, if I've just popped down here, I'll just pop up next to where it is. I'll try not to unthread my needle. Have to cut a bit end on that. And so that you're just, yeah, putting less on the back. Because I'm working in quite a small space here, I'm not doing big long sort of stitches. I'm not too fussed about that. And then there's another little patch over here. And then, yeah, I feel like I want to also put another little dark bit in the middle here. So this is just me doing my own artistic styling. Just going to put one up next to that other one. And then I feel like maybe one down here as well. In fact, I'm going to put a couple over here too. So that's what you can do. You can almost, yeah, be the painter. Treat this as a bit of a sketch, and then you be the painter. Decide where you want to put your colours. So I'll keep that bit of thread for later because I will be thread painting it all. So next up we can use our next colour. So these ones, like the ones that I've cut, they're just at a good length. They always say from your tips to your elbow is a good length to have for walls. I need to again just chop the end of that so that makes it easier to thread. Yes. And as you can see, the steamer seam light is fine to stitch through. But yeah, I just hope everyone that is buying it is getting the light version, because otherwise you will definitely have trouble if it's not, based on my friend's experience. It's been really good to try the steamer seam for this project, because I'll definitely will use it again in the future when I want a nice sort of smooth surface and don't want to have to stitch it all down. So I'm following around the next darkest sort of points, and again I can improvise a bit if I want to. See, I'll put another dark spot, I think, next to this one. No, dark spot, a dark streak. And it's lovely as you continue stitching, you just start to see the piece sort of coming together. So again, I'm improvising a bit as I go around. These are probably the next lighter colour, but I just want to make them this colour. I think these ones down here, I'll make this colour. But then I can always overlay another lighter colour over the top, which works as well. And so don't be afraid of thread painting. I think, when I first started out, I thought, oh, that sounds really, really technical. And because I don't think of myself as a very good sort of like painting artist or anything like that, I think I was a bit put off, thinking, oh, maybe I won't be able to do that. But I love thread painting. I find it so relaxing. So I think that's probably enough of that colour. And it is good to have a nice sort of, I guess, solid base, like a blanket base or something, because when you get thread painting it will sort of pull pull your fabrics together, and if you had a flimsy fabric underneath you might find it a little bit tricky. Yeah, I think I'll use this one next, even though it's similar in colour. I'm just hoping I did get the right one there. I think we'll just come in with that for the next bit, and then we'll leave the lighter area, and then we've got the even lighter centre. So I'll probably show you one of these, and then we can start work on the flower on the other side. Perhaps there's a bit of a difference. Because as I say, this one's a bit more at the back, so I'm not even sure I'm going to actually thread paint that flower at the back. May just be these ones down the front. So yeah, I'm not sure you'll even be able to see quite the difference in colour between these two, but that's okay. Now we've got a little knot of some description. Oops, no, that is our original starting one. That can sometimes happen where it just will pull through. Not sure what happened there. And then you can just go again. Might just lay a stitch over where the other ones were. Just move it up, because I just get worried that I'm going to go off camera or something and you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So what are you stitching? Are you working on a Roxy prompt? Are you working on another project? Are you working on your own project idea? Are you plotting and planning project ideas? That's my problem. I have so many ideas, and I'm always grabbing little bits of fabric and kind of putting them in a little starting pile for a new project, but there's never enough time. Probably one of those things that there would never, even if I had 24 hours in the day to create, I'd probably still be complaining, not enough time. So I'm doing this colour around the outer of the leaves here. Yeah, so it's probably good that I didn't decide to thread paint the whole of my flowers up the top, because I think in reality this is probably going to be enough thread painting for the time remaining for this prompt just this week. We're all wondering what the next prompt will be. I have no basis for my guess, but I'm thinking maybe a teacup or a teapot or both, but I could be totally wrong. I'm just sort of thinking what would be in a still life. So you can see, well, I can see the difference in colour, even though that these are similar in colour tone. And it's what you kind of want. You want your colours to look like they would be occurring naturally on a single flower. My belly just made a funny digestion sound that I shouldn't even joke about these things, but it reminded me of that. Did anyone watch that series Metal Mickey? He was like a robot or something that, I don't know how he came to be with the family. I just had this memory of, watching that as a child. Don't know if it was an Australian series or if it was an overseas one. Metal Mickey. I'm going to have to look that up when I finish. Isn't it funny the way our memories work? Do you sometimes have that, like you see something, you hear something, and just one little thing sort of, brings back a memory that you might not have, thought about for ages. So then I'll use this lighter pink in here, even though it's more of a dusty pink. It doesn't really matter. It will work okay. Gone too long on that thread as well, so I'll just cut it. If you were working all of these at once, you could continue while you've got a thread threaded. You can continue sort of on to the next flower, but I just thought for your benefit I just want to show you a complete flower and then move on to the larger flower so you get a good sense of it, hopefully. Let me know if you have any questions remaining sort of after watching. I'm always happy to answer questions for you. So there is also a bit of yellow in the centre as well. So I might have a look around if I've got... I did actually find a yellow just before that I think I threw in the Fleur Woods basket for the retreat. But I think where the yellow is actually, I might just use this pinky colour. But I can probably leave a little bit of the yellow by just putting the pinky colour sort of interspersed with the yellow. I think that might just sort of bring it together nicely. And in terms of the direction you go when you're thread painting, you kind of look at the direction that's already in the shading, if there's shading there, and think about the petals. So you want them to kind of have that elongation sense, so you make your stitches go along the petals. So that's more a whitey bit there, but I'm just going to put a pink here. And this is where you could also come in, for example, if I wanted to add a little bit of pink here, I could just put a pink over where I've got my other stitching, and I can also just add one down here. Sometimes having a bit of lighter on the dark almost makes it look like you're getting a bit of a the light just catching off the petals. So sometimes I like to do that. But you can really see how many stitches we have laid down just on that one little flower. And then this is an off-white, but I'll use that for my little centerpiece. Oops. To cut myself a nice end. Probably leave the black unstitched because I want that to kind of be the depth in the centre. So I don't want that to kind of be raised, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm quite happy, I think, with the off-white, because I think it's just going to mean that the centres aren't quite as stark as they would be if I was using a pure white. It's just unthreaded. Okay. And yeah, if you have sort of fluffy ends on the end of your thread and having trouble threading, definitely just cut the little endy bit off and it will help with the wools. Or just use a needle with a slightly bigger eye, can help you as well. So that is, I think, pretty much all I need to do. So there's how that little one is looking. And I just think, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how it transforms when you start out. You're not sure how it's going to look, but I think that will look really lovely. So yeah, I'll do that one, that one, that one. I'll probably actually do all of these, and then I guess it makes sense that I do that little one over there. Probably won't do the little buds at the back. But that will be off camera that I will do that. I can always take this in the car with me when we're travelling up to the Southern Highlands for Fleur's workshop. I will share some of the driving with Alex, but I will also do some stitching. So again, with this one, we need to have a think about threads that we want to use. So I think I'll use, just to make it a bit different, I'll use this one. So I've got a darker brown. So again, I think I will make use of this one, which we used for the other one. So use that for the darker brown. I'll use this for that pinky colour. I'll use this for the next pinky colour. Not sure about that, or no, that's a bit too browny brown. I've got this one which I hand dyed myself. Maybe we can go like this, because it looks similar weight to an Appleton's, but yeah, I did that with my Inktense. And then yeah, maybe again we'll use this for the medium one. So I think I've got enough. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've got 5 colours I need. Yep, got 5 colours there. So we'll just start the process off. So darkest, which way was I going? Not that one, that one. So if we're going to go for that one, that is the second lightest. So it will be probably this one that we use there. Now, did I have my needles still on the table? I felt, yep, I did. It's over here. This is why I lose needles sometimes. I just need to cut off this little thready bit that's coming out from my orts in my lining. So sending out a cheerio to my friend Kim, who was particularly keen to see the kintsugi work on the vase. So sending you my very best, dear Kim, over in the United States. Hoping things are going well for you as you're watching this. But sending a cheerio out to everyone, particularly if you're struggling with anything, or if you just need a friendly cheerio. And so because I'm going to be doing longer stitches, I'm going to try and sort of follow that rule of popping up and down close to the previous stitch. So again, I'm just following the sort of the broad pattern of the curve of the petal. But there's no really right or wrong method when you're thread painting. You just want to try and sort of emulate the design or the shade. Really using the shading more so than the colours always. Sometimes, yeah, matching the colours if you can, if you want to, but as I say, you can change colours, but the shading and the direction of the sort of the painterly effect, that's what you're getting your sort of clues from. Well, that one I felt my other stitch went a bit too far over, so what I'm going to do is actually catch it and couch it down. So that's another good sort of little technique. If you get a stitch that isn't where you want it, you can do that couching style stitching as well. And don't worry, it will go through an ugly stage, like many things in stitching. So don't give up, because the magic is going to come. Again, I've probably used far too long a piece of thread because I get excited about the stitching and forget my own advice. Do you do that? Forget your own advice sometimes in life? Move it over a smidgeroo so you can still see. But yeah, please give thread painting a go if you haven't already, or if you have in the past and not loved it. Just try to sort of suspend judgment, and yeah, once you get into the flow of it, it's just such a lovely way to work. And yeah, use embroidery floss, use like Appleton's wools if you've got them. You can even, I've done quite a bit of thread painting just using regular sewing cotton. It gives a more sort of sketching effect, but you can do a similar technique, or just picking out sort of individual elements. So again, not having to stitch the whole of the flower. And for example, on this one, with the elements that are more in the background, I might do a bit more sort of not full depth stitching, so more picking out elements, which I can probably actually show you even with this colour how that would actually work. Oh, I've still got it threaded up. So I'll just do this other side of the petal over here. And again, I'm just trying to follow the sort of, the direction of the petal, the curvature of the petal with the stitches. Obviously the stitches are straight, but you just can kind of overlay them with each other to give that sense of curving. Or you can couch them down to get them, if you do need it specifically, a single stitch curved. But generally it's the layering of the stitches that gives that sense. So that's that. So what I want to show you is if I then want to on this side, which is the sort of in the back, more in the background, I can just do some more. Now this will be one where I couch it down. I can just do some more accenting stitches rather than filling in the whole area, except my thread has just decided to break. So we'll take this opportunity to tie this bit off on the back. Like this. And that is as I said, I was using a far too long piece of thread, so it's not surprising that it has been worn by being pulled through the fabric. So it's my own fault entirely. Oops, that knot didn't hold. Sometimes it's best not to do the running down knot. I do just want to show you how you can just pick out sort of individual elements. That's just sort of, oh, I don't think I did that couching down stitch that well. I'm just going to, oops, hopefully I'm not mangling my, so I just want this bit to sort of curve round a little bit more. Again, if something doesn't look right when you do it, yeah, you can redo things. No point leaving something that you're not happy with, and particularly when I'm showing you stuff, I don't want to show you something that I'm not happy with. So what I want to do is just pull this one over so that it's got that nice curve effect. So what that's done is just given it a beautiful curve down there. Hopefully you can see that just by couching it down. And then if I wanted to, but I don't think I will actually do yeah, another one there, but I want to show you if I wanted to come, for example, up here. Again, I could bring my thread up, but then because I want it to have a bit of curve, I'll pop up over here, and then I'll just couch it down, almost going back through the same hole but putting the little stitch over the thread. And then again, if I want to add another accent over here, can come, I think I'll be able to come actually all the way down, but then couch it down sort of about here in the center. So pick it up, bring it over, and go back down through the same hole. And you just want it to be sort of curvy enough. If you feel it needs maybe a little bit more curve, you can always put another little couching stitch up here, to make sure it's kind of got enough curvature. Then we can come in here and probably do another little stitch coming down here, but I'll let it curve about there. So again, yeah, my plan here isn't to be doing everything thread painted necessarily. I mean, I can always come in and add thread paint, like thread paint it all, but I'm thinking more just little sort of highlighting bits. That one I'll just couch down ever so slightly just to give it a slight bit of curvature. So that's probably enough. Not sure quite what I've done there. I feel like I probably had a little knot at the back or something, but that's okay. We'll just stitch it down so that it's not in the way. That wasn't a pun, by the way, not in the way of the knot. That bit's too short to keep, so I'll put that in my orts jar. How are we going for time? So we'll just add, what was I going to, yeah, I was going to use this one as a lighter colour, so we'll come in with that. Or did I have some, oh no, that's not long enough to use. Quite sure where my end is, but we'll find it. There we go. just tie the knot at the other end, because as I say, with the wool, sometimes it wears them a bit when you're running the knot down, or the knot just sort of forms a tangle or slides off. So again, we'll want to probably, we don't have to couch down here, we can just use our stitches and put them in slightly different directions to get that sort of curvature effect. So I think there probably will be another video where we, where I'll do some more thread painting off camera and then come back and show that to you, and show you anything else that I've done sort of different to what I am doing at the moment. But there's really, it's not a particularly sort of demanding technique if you just have a look at the design, and the design is kind of informing you how you want to use the stitches to kind of create the sense of direction and light and dark. But I like that it's not like a counted cross stitch or something where you have to be really precise. You don't have to be super, super precise. And as I say, you can change colours, you can add your own accents, so it still has that beautiful sort of creativity to it, which is what I think I really enjoy about the stitching and the textile and fibre arts. Because I'm really not a pattern sort of girl. I'll just like to kind of create as I go. Although I guess you could say this is a pattern underneath that I'm stitching, but then again I'm improvising in the process of mark making. So that's really what this thread painting is. It's a form of mark making with thread. So yeah, I think this off-white looks really lovely, gives it just a real softness to the voluptuous rose. And I'm just overlapping the ends of each of my stitches up and sort of down, because that just helps to give that curvature effect. And so hopefully for some of you receiving these flowers in your Nanna's Travelling Ric-Rac packs, hopefully this gives you an idea of how you might use it. You don't have to use it this way, but yeah, certainly this fabric is super for thread painting, but equally for adding on to making a pouch, making a little needlebook, all sorts of possibilities, making a vessel. Just excited to see what everyone does over time, and no pressure. I know lots of people have lots going on in their lives, so it's not like I'm going to be monitoring to see who's done what. I'll be so excited, and we'll be celebrating as people share their photos and their little descriptions for the community. It will be lovely to share that both as they come in, but then to put something together as a bit of a compilation of Nanna's Travelling Ric-Rac Collaboration 1. I'm not even sure how much Ric-Rac is on the Nanna's Travelling Ric-Rac roll. It still has plenty left, so I think I've definitely got more for another collaboration. Then I do have some other lovely things from my Nanna too, as well as other things in my stash that I can definitely share out. So I'll tie that off there, and I think we are just on time. So I will, as I say, continue to work off camera on the thread painting, and I will come back to you with it probably won't be immediately. I'm just tending to sort of make a video every few days at the moment. But yeah, just wanted to show you how that's looking. And yeah, we'll really come together as we continue sort of, yeah, working our way around and getting this whole sort of foreground. I will also be stitching these ones. I'm not sure whether I might change their colour or stick with that. I suppose I could stick with that goldy colour because it is in the flowers up here as well. So maybe that would be a good idea. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that little look at thread painting. Hopefully that kintsugi might give you some ideas if you are going to make a vasey sort of thing or a teacup or something. Really happy I've done that. It just adds a whole nother element to the piece. And thank you so much for watching and sending beautiful flowers into your world as well. Bye everyone.